everybody, welcome to the Mom Series, The Misunderstanding of Multiplicity. My name is Maria. So I hope everyone is up above at least 10 degrees, getting into the 20s, 30s, something, right? So the past few days it's been like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 degrees. It's been really cold. And I've been enjoying it. Where I live, I've been enjoying the cold weather. And um, I've said this a few times on my videos. I know some people experience their life with a condition called SAD, seasonal affective disorder. I I do the opposite when it's really hot and really tropical, humid weather. I don't do well at all, and like emotionally, physically, nothing. And I think a lot of it is because I'm hyperthyroid, so I'm already heated up. I have what's called toxic nodules, and I run hyperthyroid, so I'm on medication for that. Medication called Tapazole, which regulates the thyroid, but I still can't tolerate the heat at all. So when it's finally cool, I'm really in my comfort zone and my energy is good and I feel regulated because I'm not fighting with the temperature around me to get even more comfortable. So I've been enjoying the cold weather. Um, so happy Martin Luther King Day weekend. This is a long weekend and it is an anniversary weekend for me, my children, and some people in my family on one side of my family. So I wanted to mention it because I want to talk about anniversary dates. And really, it's a 30-year anniversary, and you would think, I would think, I would think I would be over it. I would think, but it's not like I approach anniversary dates like, oh my gosh, I remember when, or I'm just going to be miserable because I'm giving myself an excuse to. It's like I really do. It just kind of creeps up. And as many times as I plan to approach an anniversary date differently, with a positive mindset, like look at all I learned from that, it I still go to the emotions I felt then all over again. And I don't really know what to tell people about anniversary dates, but that the struggle is real and the feelings are real. And just be gentler and kind to yourself during those anniversary dates. I know plenty of people that have had losses. Maybe a loved one died, or maybe it's when their marriage blew up, their whole world blew up. Maybe their children went to live with someone else. In my case, that's what happened. Maybe everything they knew as life as normal, as being mom, as being having their children there to take care of, just it just was gone. And or they lost their job, or just grief and loss. Um, the day it all exploded. And for me, January is just one big old month of endings and different new beginnings over and over again. Um, my ex-husband and I broke up in January. Our marriage kind of blew up in January. And then on Martin Luther King weekend day, my children ended up going to live with my cousin. And so, even though they're grown adults, even though it's been 30 years, still, I'm really feeling that this year, um, with a lot of the emotion that I didn't feel then. And I think some years we just sail through anniversary dates, and some years are harder. I don't know why that is, but I just guess we got to honor those feelings and just flow with them. My cat Tustin might be screaming in the background. He does when the dog goes out downstairs. There's a little dog downstairs that he follows around. Like the dog is running and he'll follow. They play a little game. Dog barks at him. He yells back. So you might hear him in the background. Um, what I wanted to talk today about is fusions, integrations, and merges. What my doctor and I used to call combos in the 80s when it was called multiple personality before it was called DID. So I mentioned in my video the other day, and not many people saw it, but I mentioned that there is a system group out here that came out in 2018, I believe. Um, Diagnosed from Potter's Gate Center, Dr. Remy Arquan, and the people there in the UK with DID, diagnosed with DID. And they have a large channel, and their name is disassociated. I don't really know how to say that. No matter how many times disassociated DID disassociated. Okay, so there's been a lot of drama around this channel and their partner, another system group called Team Pinata. Um, During that time, there's been drama over copyright infringement, said alleged copyright infringement, harassment, stalking going on between a gentleman who offered his services to help them create content or edit it or answer mail or whatever out here. And I wanted to say real quick, because at one time I know it sounds like small potatoes because it is, but at one time I had 1,000 subscribers back in 2009. And it was kind of fast that I suddenly had all these subscribers. And I would often get people that would come along and say, I love your channel content. I could help you clean it up, your sound, your lighting, if you need equipment or if you need someone to edit or help you with your lighting or whatever, or go over what you write and the links you use. I, and constantly I would get those kind of emails in discussion and messages and stuff. And they would usually love the content and talk as a acquaintance, friend, subscriber, and keep making suggestions and then offer to clean up or content or give you more information on, like, suggest, why don't you talk about this with this. um and I never said yes, and I'm glad I didn't, because they're on everybody's channel, and they really do trollish behavior. They're like, they're not talent scouts, they're like ambulance chasers. I want to say they're in the cooking community, they're in the crochet community, they're in knitting, anything, a DIY channel, anything that they see the content is growing or you're getting quick views on, they will come along and um, start complimenting you and just like total love bombing you all over the place. Hearts, 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 love your stuff, and uh, try to get you to come on board and get their help. Then they can actually take your content and um, run off with it, edit it, put it on different websites, and um, that almost happened to uh, a channel out here. And I'm going to tell people, if you want really good home cooking, go to Hillbilly Kitchen. Becky, she's got a very big channel on cooking, homegrown food, and really just cool old recipes. And she um, she talks about this too. Is if you want to grow your channel, and I know I'm nowhere near that now. I got to work on that again. Um, you might not want to invite anyone to help you at all, even if you're doing like super chat, live chat, and all that stuff, and you want a moderator in there. Just be careful because they can run off with your material, and I mean, know the people that you know them. Um, so anyway, so Disassociative did, and Team Pinata had some issues with the DID community at large, um, regarding the taking down of their videos regarding some material that was found out about Nan and Team Pinata, and um, just there was a whole lot of drama. And there seem to be camps out here that, which there always is in the DID community or multiple plural community or any mental health community, there's camps. I really think it kind of reminds me of when you're working on a floor, you're working with different people that are working with people with mental health issues, how they will try to split staff up and be smart like Fox and all of a sudden be well. They know who to perform to and who to turn it on and turn it off with. I'll talk more about that later. Um, so I've said, there's been role players out here, and then there's been people with very different presentations than what we're used to, and we want to respect and honor all presentations. We don't want to be judging, but we do want to keep the community um, from harming. Like, that's the whole purpose we came out here. It was not to create more harm and stigma and fear and um, isolation. So I think the consensus for me has been there is no one presentation that anyone can hang their hat on, professional or otherwise. Um, I have met several doctors now that have DID, psychologists and social workers that have DID that are working in the field of trauma. And I went to school to be a social worker and I worked in the field, and I would very much like to return to social work in my 60s because now I know so much more than I knew then. I think I have more to offer now than I had to offer then. And I was crispy toast then, turbulent 30s, raising my children, trying to do it all and pay all the bills and get it all done, pay the babysitters and do everything. And um, I think I'm just more at a peaceful place in my life where I'd like to help others. So one of the things I keep seeing over and over again with um, DID multiple plural groups is a lack of accountability, a real lack of emotional accountability. And I also see this similarly in trigger warning, in Christian testimonies. So I wanted to draw a quick similarity I see of often, if you've been in Christian or spiritual communities that believe in the devil or Satan, trigger warning for SRA people, I guess. And they believe in God and there being an enemy that would tempt you or cause you or come in to tempt you and just make you do bad things. When listening to people tell their testimony of how they came to know God, Jesus, or how they came to salvation and their Christian walk, when they fall off their walk or step away from the narrow path, um, they will often say, well, the enemy came in and tempted me. Or the enemy, the enemy likes to get in there, and that's what the enemy put a person in there in my path, and the enemy did this. I was listening to a testimony the other night of, and no disrespect to the woman, it was a musician, a Christian musician, who was talking about her childhood. She had trauma in her childhood. She was an atheist. She came to the Lord young, really having dealt with suicidal feelings, and she had a one-on-one experience with God, and she knew God was real. And yet later she struggled with the same things she struggled with before that. And even though she was married, she didn't understand true covenant, and the enemy kind of came in and distorted her marriage and made her feel like she wasn't getting emotionally fed in her marriage. And there was such an easy uh, among the interviewer and her, such an easy exchange of, yep, the enemy likes to come in and do that, and the enemy did that, and oh yeah, yeah, well, the enemy knows your weakness and will come in and, that's what the enemy did, and I'm just here to tell you that's what the enemy did. Total lack of accountability of, I chose to do that. I chose to have a emotional affair away from my husband, who, even though I didn't understand covenant with, I made a promise with. So it's okay. Altars are blamed the same way in a lot of DID communities. A lot of MPD, DID circles, system groups, what I will say, well, yeah, but that was going on because my protector or my gatekeeper or my little, a child in the system, um, that's their job. And I was unaware of it because I had amnesia, but now I'm aware and I'm with another. So it's sort of like, again, I'm going to say the clusterfucks of jumping through, just kind of like making it up as you go along. And in the multiple DID community, there's this understanding of the lingo where everybody just kind of goes along with it and says, yeah, I have a little like that too. Oh, I have a bratty teenager that does that. Or, yeah, I have a protector that she would get that way or he would get that way. And I can understand how um, you would get defensive and maybe say something that, and blaming it on the altar. Same as blaming it on the enemy in the Christian testimony. Like, here is my testimony. I came to know the Lord, but then, the enemy likes to get in there. And blah, blah, blah. No, no, no. The enemy didn't get in there. You chose to do what you did. No, no, no. It wasn't your altar. You chose. Okay, you could say, well, I have amnesia of that, so I'm assuming an altar did that or an altar fessed up to it or whatever. But there is a true lack of accountability, and that's where integration, fusing, and immersion really comes from. So the other thing that I see happening, and I do see it with disassociated, I'm going to say your name wrong, I'm so sorry. So I'm really asking the question of what kind of therapist would possibly suggest and think that it's okay, or I don't want to say direct, you're saying it happened naturally. That said, rapid fusions of 1 + 1 = 2, but not an upgraded 2. So what I'm seeing over and over again is system groups merging and creating an actual other altar for those two. Like saying, I have 2 altars, and they're having a hard time, or maybe they like hanging out together, or maybe they're not having a hard time. Maybe they're having a hard time being out front, or they're being triggered a lot, or they're causing trouble for the system. But they do good together, and we're going to put them together and make one altar. Well, the goal would be to reduce the numbers, to reduce all these aspects, alter egos of persona that are growing and unaware of each other's behavior or living autonomously away from one another, there would be the healing would be to, yes, fuse and merge as many as you can together to get the numbers down. But I don't understand where the creation of a whole new altar would fix that. And I guess the way I see it is, I see it as a defense. I see it as a very um, convenient defense mechanism, like where, okay, Chloe and, let's say, I'm just naming names. I'm gonna, Chloe and, I don't know, I'm just gonna name a name. Chrissy, or Kyle and Ninny, um, decide to get together and make Winnie, or what, and another persona is out, and it makes no sense. It makes no psychological sense. It doesn't make sense. Scientifically, it makes no sense. It doesn't make sense for healing and wholeness. If I wanted to merge, and this is why I said merges and fusions don't really hold a long time for me, is if I decided to co-run with another here, I might not be aware right away that I was until I was actively doing what I was doing, like maybe getting overly involved in cleaning, a little OCD about it, like really, like I begin cleaning and then I can't stop. I might recognize the energy of another aspect of myself that really loves to clean. And if I wanted to merge that part of myself with me, I would still be me. And I wouldn't need to make a new name or develop a new personality. I would just be able to enjoy cleaning more and maybe balance it out a little bit. Like, okay, we don't have to clean that much. Or maybe there's an alter aspect of me that really loves to craft and crochet and knit, but can get lost in it, like just 24/7. That's what that part of me would just do. Um, I would have to balance that out. I would have to be like, okay, be about be about business other than that. And if I wanted to bring that aspect, alter persona into my entire personality system and fuse it, I wouldn't then become the crafter plus Maria. Or so I'm saying, so there are some there are some systems and groups, and I know integration and fusion and merging is a very personal thing, and it's very unique to every group. That said, it wouldn't create another altar. Wouldn't. It seems, or if it did, it seems counterproductive. Um, it would bring the numbers down. So maybe your group was at 22 and now it's at, following the history of fusions you've had rapidly with all this stress, it could come down to 22 to maybe 16. That would be seen as healthier or more congruent. But I'm not understanding the jump to is a whole other persona. What I will say is when I first started fusing and co-running with and just being aware of other aspects of me, just being aware, just learning to be aware of feelings and emotions and behaviors that I am doing with shared memory, um, it did change my behavior. So, uh, let me give you the best example I used to say in videos. I will always give you an example. Um, let's say I have an alter aspect that is very comfortable cursing and can swear like a sailor and feel very comfortable doing that around anybody. And I don't. I'm totally like, it doesn't sound good. Stop, ugh. Um, I have to accept that that's me. That is obviously me. But I've been disconnected from it. So there is some part of me that wants to curse. Um, and get angry and curse and be as foul-mouthed as some of the men in my family, and it's perfectly fine. Um, I could fuse, merge that, and just kind of hang out with that person, and then it would be considered a fusion or a merge, what my doctor used to call a combo, because he'd be very aware that I was with another and that I was aware of it, and I'd be like, because I was like something would come out of my mouth, I'd be like, "Ooh," like, "Oh, I didn't say that," or whatever. Or I could like hear myself saying it. I was like, ah, and I'd start apologizing right away and be like, no, 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 own that feeling, because it's all about owning your feelings, our feelings. So I would have to own, I won't say the name of the altar, that altar's feelings and say, okay, but I really wasn't feeling that way. And my therapist would really push, like, yeah, you were. You were feeling that way. And this part of you is willing to stand up for you and say, bull, BS. That's not what it is, right? So it really is just owning all of our feelings with the emotion. And sometimes that could be crying and being embarrassed to cry, or just just all the emotions. And the ugly cry, the whole bit, just breaking down and yelling and screaming and being angry and all the emotions. Um, and all the feelings of sometimes the trauma that is assigned to sometimes the development of that aspect we were disconnected from. But is us. So um, I remember the first time I decided to kind of like really try to hang out with this part of myself that was really angry and willing to call truth where she saw lies, and just more assertive than me. And it came off as aggressive at first, and that was really honed. Um, and people in my family would automatically think, well, you're not Maria, you're so and so. Because that's the way they understood that altar to be. That's the way that the doctor had explained the altar to be. That's the way I explained it to them to be. That's the way they experienced it to be when there was a switch. So they could not understand that I was me with that aspect, owning those feelings and saying, no, this is me now. This is how I am. So this is how I sound. This is how I talk. Sometimes I curse, and it's me now. And yes, I know it was an altar before, but that altar is with me now, merged, fused, and now this is just me. And so you get a milder, you get a kind of like a more assertive me, or aggressive at times, or stronger me, and you're not used to that. So it does change us as we merge, integrate, whatever you want to call it, or co-run con consciously. It does. Um, but it also, um, it's worthy of saying that you're still you. And for me, there doesn't seem to be a need to make another alter aspect to integrate fuse. So I kind of look at the timing of fusions and merges and convenient integrations. And like I said in my video, my other video, I think of it as a a stress reaction, a shutdown, a defense mechanism, and I think that's why I'm really wondering how people feel about that. Not to judge disassociate did. I'm just using them as an example. There are many groups out here that is what they do. They're like, okay, I'm merged now, and um, but I've never seen so many rapid, like just, okay, so and so are getting together and we're becoming this one. And so and so are getting together and we're becoming this one. And so got together and we become this way. Okay, now we're three instead of 2, 4, 6, but we're three whole different personalities now. There's still parts, but I don't see the integration in that because I don't see the real ownership of the feelings and the behavior and the emotions. The same way when Christians are giving their testimony of, oh, I came to know the Lord and I was walking with the Lord, walking the straight path and everything was going great. And my husband and I, and then, the enemy came in swiftly, and the enemy is like a snake, and that person, and our marriage broke up, or we there was a discretion in our marriage, and the enemy sent that person to tempt me, and God said we would be tempted, and we're known by our test. That's part of our testimony. I mean, it just worked right into it, so it all fits so tidy, and uh that seems backward to me. It seems shady. I no longer believe that kind of stuff. I I take it as far as the addiction disease model. I know there are addicted personalities, heredity, learned behavior, and dependence, and self-medicating. But then I also know that the best thing you could tell your client, patient, person that is dependent on a drug is, if you use again, you're going to die, and it is your choice. Not, when we're going to wash that drug out of you, and you're going to forever want it, and you're going to relapse over and over and over again, and we're probably going to see you again, and we're going to have to get a bed for you. And oh yeah, well, relapse is written right into the recovery, just like, that's a whole nother video. Relapse is written into the recovery of bipolar. Relapse is written into the recovery of eating disorders. Relapse is written into the recovery of alcohol and substance dependence. And that disease model of relapse being written into the actual recovery is the iatrogenic aspect that keeps it chronic and pathological, and does nothing to promote true health. So, um, when patients and families of patients are taught the disease trauma model and the stress reaction, they can go on thinking, well, every time this person gets stressed, they're going to switch. Every time this person is triggered, they're going to go back to the trauma and disassociate. Um, every time this person is in a stressful situation, they're going to drink and relapse. You can count on it. They're going to fall off the wagon. Um, I have a real problem with writing relapses into recovery. I think it's enough to just say to ourselves, we're going to be managing our own recovery, and we're going to have good days and we're going to have bad days, um, and just get back up again. And that's all I really want to say. And for anniversary dates too, they don't have to crush us. We can feel the emotions that maybe we didn't feel. We were in too much shock to feel. And maybe even have regrets or have anger that we didn't express then. Like I know it's different for everybody with anniversary dates. Um, there's a lot of what ifs running around my head or wishes. And had I done that, a lot of hindsight thinking. Um, but it's not crushing me. It's a little harder than past years, but it's not crushing me. And I know it's equally hard for my family members that were involved in this anniversary date and for my children that are grown adults now. So I wanted to speak to that and just ask what you guys think about fusions, integration, mergings that create a whole nother altar. And then also this Christianizing, spiritualizing, and the enemy that like the devil made me do it. The enemy. And that kind of being like what uh people that are diagnosed do with the devil made me do it. My demons. Oh, my demons came back and made me do it. What I just I don't find it helpful. I don't find it true. I find it very deceptive and disingenuous and not helpful. So that's my video today, you guys. And I hope you're in a good place wherever you are. Happy Dr. Martin Luther King Day. Be free. Be free. Use your voice. Stand up. And don't forget to do some caring and sharing out there in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King. I know it's really hard with COVID. I'm going to be doing some cooking and I'm going to get a chance to wear an N95 while I'm cooking. And um, that I'm that's a little challenging, and I do want to talk about that also in another video about the whole mask mandate and mental health issues that are getting reactivated through the pandemic. So that'll be another video. But I usually like to keep busy during Dr. Martin Luther King. I always did, and so I always do. Um, there's always somewhere in your community you can do something or reach out, find something to do, and any random act of kindness. But there's a whole website on Caring and Sharing Day, and um, you can just keep it going all week. Um, I just go ahead and volunteer to cook at some local shelters and rotate. And just found out yesterday that if I was going to cook, we are all going to have to be completely PP'd up. So I guess I will be wearing the shield and the um, gloves and the slippers and the cat. I mean, we're going to be PP'd up to cook and serve. So that will be a challenge, but our healthcare workers do it all the time. So yeah, that's what I'm doing for Martin Luther King Day. So I hope everybody is doing something fun and staying safe. And again, no judgment. to disassociate did, and people that do fuse, emerge, and integrate this way. I just wonder if it's kind of like a cultural learning thing that we're learning on the internet from other groups, or if it's really coming from therapists that are actually doing treatment um, with folks. Okay, thanks. Bye bye. Have a nice day, everyone. Thanks for hanging in with me. Bye.